G'day guys, Matt here from Not in the Manual. I've finally got my car back so we can do some more videos. Pretty happy, they did a fantastic job. It was pretty well damaged. The whole side of the car basically had to get replaced. Now the guys I got to do that Chatswood Prestige Auto Repairs here in Sydney. They're a Tesla approved body shop. So easy to deal with. George and the guys there, I couldn't ask for better service. And even in the beginning when it happened, George rang me on a Sunday just to check in with me and let me know it was okay to bring in for assessment. So that all happened before Christmas, so it's been a long time. I grabbed the car back for a little while there while it was waiting for parts. George did a good job making that safe to drive again. And yeah, so the repair took about 5 weeks, just over 5 weeks. Pretty major repair. So yeah, basically, as I said, the whole side of the car. I'll just show you through that there now. I love black cars when they're all nice and clean. I did clean it yesterday, but unfortunately I had to drive through some wet roads last night, so it's a bit dirty again. But I love black cars, nice and shiny when they're clean. So basically both of these doors got replaced. This whole rear panel section here, the rear bumper where it was damaged. I mean, the wheels got repaired. You wouldn't be able to tell where they were repaired. They've done a fantastic job. Got a new tyre. This is made in Thailand. All the other tyres were made in China, but it's the same tyre. So that's pretty interesting. I didn't realise. I thought they'd all come out of the one factory in China, but Thailand's the land of rubber, so where a lot of it comes from. But yeah, as you can see, they've done a fantastic job. I guess it would have been hard not to make this look better than the Tesla paint job on the bonnet or any of the other adjoining panels, but this car had a pretty good paint job anyway. It was a little bit orange peely, but not too bad. I was pretty happy with it. So that all looks pretty good. Those doors were trashed. That was the killer, waiting for this rear door. A lot of the other parts came in within 2 to 3 weeks. Just this rear door, the whole complete door, that was on back order. So that killed it. That took the longest. So if we didn't have this global shipping issues and things, yeah, it would have been repaired a lot faster. And the crash happened just before Christmas, so a lot of places were closed over that Christmas break. So yeah, very happy to have it back. I can start making some videos again. And yeah, that brings me on to today. Yeah, just want to make a video on efficiency. So efficiency is one of those things that you don't immediately consider when you're going to buy an electric vehicle. You just look at the range, look at the price. It's not one of those things you immediately consider, but it is such an important thing. Efficiency is it's pretty important. Around the city, yeah, not too bad, but on long trips, long journeys, you really want your car to be as efficient as possible so that you maximise your range between those charging stops. And that's where the Tesla Model 3 SR Plus, I think it sits at a pretty good, it's got a pretty good range for, 90% of people could survive with the range of this car. So you got to remember that once you're at higher speed, it takes a lot more energy to push the car along through the air. And on the freeway journeys, don't expect to be getting 400 kilometres out of this car. Expect to be getting a lot less than that rated range. But the thing that really matters with electric vehicles is being able to get to the next fast charger. So as long as you can get to the next fast charger with enough charge, enough of a safety margin there, then you're good. Here in Australia, it'd be pretty hard with a non-Tesla to do that. And but it's getting better and better. There's more and more fast chargers going in. I think, I'm not saying Tesla is the only car to buy, but at the moment here in Australia, if you're going to be doing a lot of longer journeys, I'd really consider it, because the Tesla supercharging network is pretty good, and you know, you get fast speeds. Without Tesla, NRMA have been doing their best to put in their fast chargers, but then again, they're only 50 kilowatt fast chargers, and you could turn up to one of those and be sitting behind a Nissan Leaf and be waiting an hour before even you get a chance to charge. So at least you know with the Tesla supercharging network, you're going to turn up and someone's only going to be there for 15-20 minutes, half an hour at the most, just topping up enough to get to the next supercharger. You don't have to put in as much of a safety buffer there with the supercharging network. So anyway, yeah, that's probably another video anyway, but yeah, efficiency. What I want to do in this video today is just run through what I believe and what I've learnt are the most important things with efficiency. So the two biggest things I think are aerodynamics, so the drag of the car, how much energy it takes to push your car through air, and obviously, as I said before, that resistance increases as your speed increases. And I think the other, my theory is that the next biggest thing is how heavy your foot is, how you're driving, your driving style. That affects the efficiency a lot. That's a pretty major thing. So if you're going to go around accelerating pretty hard all the time, you're going to use a lot of energy. And I think that they're the two most important things, I think, anyway. Then you've got the electrical system of the car, the motors, the inverters, how efficient they are. And I'm going to do another video on the motor in this car. I think that warrants a separate video itself, how Tesla have done that. They're not alone, and a lot of these things I'm going to talk to you about today are applicable to all EVs. And all car manufacturers using very similar techniques to save energy and make cars more efficient. So let's get started on the aerodynamics. So the Tesla Model 3 has a drag coefficient of 0.23. What they mean with the drag coefficient is, the Model Y and the Model 3 share the same drag coefficient, but when you look at them, they're very different cars. You think, okay, why is the drag coefficient the same? Well, the drag coefficient is more to do with the shape of the car and how much turbulence the car generates as the air flows over it. So you could have a bigger car, a smaller car, but the design of the body means they produce very similar turbulence. So the drag coefficient is then used in further formulas and further calculations to calculate the amount of energy the car needs to be pushed through air. So you would then multiply the drag coefficient by the frontal area of the car, and you can then calculate further energy consumption and things further down the line. So you've got air density, drag coefficient, rolling resistance, and all these things you use in more complicated formulas to calculate the car's energy consumption. So if you were to look at the Model Y and the Model 3, well, the Model Y, yes, it's going to have a lot more frontal surface area. So the area of the car that is hitting the air mass in front of the car at a right angle or at a steeper angle. So the frontal surface area is key as well. So Model 3 being you can see, very low car, nice sort of smooth shape. You can tell it is designed to be very aerodynamic. So we can start at the front of the car, and I'm just going to run through some things that this car in particular has, but it's not alone. And you might go and look at a Hyundai or a Kia or a Nissan, and they're going to have very similar features on the body. And it's all designed to reduce that air turbulence, to try and smooth out the airflow over the car and disturb that air as little as possible. And there are a number of techniques which I'm going to run through now. We'll work from the front of the car to the back. So the front is the most important because that's where that air hits the car first, and that's where what angles the air runs at from that point. And Tesla have some pretty cool techniques, so we'll run through those. So we'll start at the front of the car. Now if you look from above, you can see there's a nice rounded shape, like a wedge shape to the car. That sort of bullet shape. That really helps instead of having just sort of a flat front square shape. Also, we then look at this profile here and we can see air comes along, hits there, and then runs up the car. The headlights, they're squished down nice and compact to reduce that frontal surface area. So nice and sleek, and you'll see that on other cars like Hyundai's. So this nice little dent, or whatever you want to call it, in the front of the car, dimple, you know, air hits here, flows out the sides. Some air is forced down as an air curtain over here. Now under here, what you've got is the air intakes for the HVAC system. So you've got two coolers in behind that, and that has some active vents there. So if it's super cold, those active vents close to stop that cold air flowing over those, to sort of keep some heat in that system to reduce the cooling effect. And then those vents open up when there is a need for more airflow. And you'll see a very similar thing on like the Hyundai Ioniq. They have these little vent flaps that open up and allow air to flow through as it's needed. And that's not uncommon. So we want to keep a nice flat surface here, keep the air flowing around the car, instead of giving a nice big flat surface here or a grill. So, you know, with the EVs, we don't need that big grill. We don't have a big radiator here cooling a nice engine. The other feature I want to make note of here in this car is these side vents. So I don't know if you can see, they go right through here. You can see straight through. Now, those slots or vents are designed to create an air curtain out over the wheels and in this wheel area. So wheels are a massive part of turbulence that's generated with a car, and they create a lot of drag. So Tesla have really tried to reduce that as much as possible. You can see here, when I'm doing city driving, which is most of my driving, I don't bother running the aero caps. I actually like these wheels underneath, and a lot of people don't realise that. Take those hubcaps off, you've got some nice looking wheels underneath. And yeah, I like to run like this most of the time, and then I'll explain with the aero cap. So with wheels, what happens, you've got the bottom half of your wheel, you know, as you're turning and driving forward, that's going backwards, pushing air backwards. The top part of your wheel though is coming forward, and that's trying to throw air forward against and create turbulence. So you've got air from the tyres, you've got air from the wheels, all stirring up, and a lot of turbulence is created. So we want to reduce that turbulence, which reduces the drag coefficient of the car. Now, the air coming out of this slot creates a nice little cushion of air over the top here, which helps smooth that air out and clean it up. And a lot of parts of the car, your rear repeater cameras, you can see they're a nice smooth shape here to try and smooth out the air flowing over the car. Everywhere here, we want to keep everything nice and smooth and curved. Any sharp edges, they're going to upset and disturb that air as it goes over and make it turbulent. So I just want to we'll come around this side because I've actually taken, the Aero wheel kit off. You can see here I've taken the centerpiece out and the lug nut covers off. And this is the Aero cap. So, I wasn't too fussed on the looks of this at first, but once I learnt what this does and how much it reduces the turbulence, I thought that's pretty cool. I throw it on for longer trips. I haven't measured how much of a difference it makes, but once I explain to you the purpose of this and how it functions, I think you'll want to be running it as well on long journeys. So what this cover is designed to do, it's not just a nice smooth surface that is the key. That helps. So the profile of this Aero cap, let's just put that in. Line up the valve hole. Okay, now we've got a nice aerodynamic wheel there. So what actually happens here is that reduces the turbulence from the rotation of the wheel. Plus these vents, what they're also doing is sucking air inside. So they're stopping as much air trying to push out and create turbulence. So it's sort of like a fan, but it's sucking in. So that's pulling this air from outside of the wheel, sucking it inside and pushing it under the car, where it can be smoothed out by the underbody of the car. So that's it. You know, and as this is rotating, we've got a nice smooth surface here, and that vacuum action of it sucking the air back in and pushing it under the car, keeping it away from the outside. So we've got, we end up with nice, cleaner air from this wheel running down the side of the car. The other thing I'll point out from the front, if you look underneath the car, yeah, a little bit hard to see. This car is very low to the ground underneath. You have these plastic diffusers through the whole length of the car. So they're covering up all these nice, hard, sharp edges underneath the car that create turbulence. You've got suspension joints, you've got, there's lots of little holes and pockets and things there to create turbulence. See if we can see it better from the back. Okay, so here, nice smooth underbody to the car. Now, you probably wonder, some cars you see have these little, I don't know if you can see it here, there's a little fin here. Might be best to look on the other side. You can see these little fins? They're designed to clean up and direct air. So once the air hits that, it straightens it up and keeps it nice and clean. So we'll come back around to the front of the car. There's a couple more things I want to talk about here. So we've got air comes up over the bonnet as well. Now what Tesla have done is they've made it so that the wiper blades tuck in under the bonnet. So they're not even dragging. You can see they're not totally tucked away, but they're tucked down enough that they're not giving any issues. So if we go in the car, put the wipers on, you can see they tuck back nice and neat under there. Now if I was driving, they would sit up a little bit, and then when they're not needed, you'd see them tuck back down in a bit further. Now my Volkswagen used to have that system. It creates some issues. If you want to lift these up to give them a clean, you've got to be careful. You will scrape your paint off your bonnet here. Make sure you put the wipers into wiper service mode before you do that. Same on this side, you're not actually even going to lift that one up. So we'd need to put the car into wiper service mode. And that's just coming in here, you're probably not going to be able to see, but we go service menu, scroll up a bit, wiper service mode. So you can see here now, wiper service mode, we can lift that up without it touching the bonnet. That's something to remember. Okay, so there's that part here. What we've also want to note with this car, and what a lot of other manufacturers are doing, is putting surface mount glass on. So this glass is glued down around the edges here. There are no little trims and things here to create drag. So we come over right over the roof. There's no trims here. The glass is all flush mount right down through to the back of the car here. And you can see the air flows over. It's got no things there. Yeah, of course I've got, I've left my roof racks on, but you can see these roof racks are designed to be pretty aerodynamic. But on long trips I would take those off unless I needed to mount a roof box or something on the roof, just to be a bit more efficient. But really you can probably get carried away. Little things like that aren't going to matter too much, because that's not going to mean the difference between making it from one supercharger to the next. So just be careful how much you worry about this sort of thing. I'm just talking to you today about what manufacturers do to reduce turbulence and how that all works. Side mirrors. They're a big issue, and you'll see some of the more higher end cars are getting rid of them and just having a little stalk with a camera and then a monitor on the inside. I think Audi does that and a few others. I think if you were to be able to lose your side mirrors, that would be another big efficiency gain. And it can be, you know, pretty big gains with some things like that. So working our way back. So yeah, the air flows over the top of the car, over here. And then what happens is that air travels down here, comes along, hits the boot here. So what happens is that compresses the air and then allows this nice smooth section, the spoiler sort of shape of the car. You can see it's got that nice little lip shape. That allows it to clean that air up. It compresses down over there and is cleaned up. So what we want to do is make sure that all the air coming off the back of the car is nice and clean shaped. It's not sort of turbulent and swirling around, because what that can do, it's sitting in here tugging on the back of your car. So nice clean air coming off the back of your car just goes and disappears. If you get a lot of turbulent air caught up here in behind the car, that's going to pull your car back and make it use more energy to go forward. So yeah, looking down the side of this car, all nice and clean. So you see with the performance models, what they do is have that extra little spoiler sticking out. What that is to do is to create a downforce at speed, to make the car, you know, ride a little bit, be a bit more stable at high speeds. We don't need to worry about that too much here in Australia, because we can't, you know, we can't travel that fast, where I think that would make a major difference. But anyway, on the performance models, you do get that little rear spoiler. So that can, you know, the higher up that spoiler sits, that itself can create some more drag and actually become inefficient. But if you want that downforce to make the car more stable at high speed, that's why they put those on there. Now I can't think of anything else around the back of the car here. I think I've covered everything there. Door handles. So yep, door handles are nice and flush. You'll see that with a lot of EVs. I think the Model 3 door handles are pretty simple and easy to use. People complain about it at first, but once you get used to it, it's not too bad. I don't think I need the handles to auto-present themselves to me. I'm quite capable of just doing that simple action. I think the Model 3 is great in simplifying everything. And if you got that extra money to spend, yeah, go get a Model S or whatever that's got those little extra comforts. But that's all they are. The battery died on my GoPro then for a second. I think I'm in need of an upgrade. This one's about 5 years old. Anyway, I just forgot something about the wheels before. We were talking, you've got that rolling resistance, which forms part of the, you know, further calculation, engineering calculations with the vehicle, with drag coefficient, rolling resistance. And you have the coefficient of friction too, with different surfaces that the wheel rolls over. So tyre design forms a big part of that rolling resistance. And EVs have EV specific tyres, and it's not just efficiency that's designed for, it's a function as well. EVs are heavier than normal cars, so they change the way that the tyres get rid of water out to the sides. Being heavier, they don't need as many of those water displacing grooves that push water out to the side of the tyre. Lighter cars, they need to try and get rid of water, you know, between the tyre and the road a bit easier to stop aquaplaning. But with a heavier EV, you need less of those grooves that help push the tyre to the side of the car. You can't really see them here. There's little grooves there in those inner rows to push the water out to the side. EVs don't need as much of that, and they create them to be a very efficient, to reduce that friction between the tyre and the road for rolling. Obviously, you need traction because of the power of these cars, but there's an in between. Wheel diameter as well matters, because as you go bigger diameter with your wheel, you're putting more weight out on a bigger radius. And the bigger radius, imagine a big bar you're trying to turn. You've got more leverage the longer the bar you put. So the bigger diameter of the wheel you have, you know, the more energy it takes to rotate that mass. So it's all to do with that rotating mass. So the best place to save weight is the wheels. It's like a mountain bike. You know, they went progressively to bigger wheels, you know, it takes you a lot more energy to accelerate up initially. And then once you're up at speed, they're actually good at keeping your momentum up. But with EVs, you're going to use, the bigger the wheels you go, the more energy you're going to use. That's just the nature of putting more weight out towards the outside of the wheel. So that's something there. That's why, you know, you hear people talk and say, I've got the 18-inch wheels, they're more efficient. That's why. So what we're going to do now, guys, is go for a drive. I might go and have some lunch first. Just going to go for a drive, and I'll talk about other things that count towards efficiency, heating and cooling system, the weight of the car. So this car has the LFP battery in it, which was slightly heavier, which sort of worked against this car. But they also got the heat pump in this car as well. So they saved there, and I think it was a bit of a trade-off in that regard. So yeah, a few more things there, and we'll talk about driveline, motors, and yeah, of course, yeah, there's that big one is driving style. So we'll go for a short drive and talk about that there. All right, guys, catch you in the car.